You might have seen me on another channel called The Horror Hour. If not, go check it out. We have a good gay ass time and we talk horror and we get filthy and raunchy, all that good stuff. But here, we're going to talk about things other than horror. So I'm going to be covering TV shows, film, that. In this case, we're going to talk about 2024's Madam Web. It's the new film that stars Dakota Johnson, Sydney Sweeney, Celeste O'Connor, Isabella Merced, and Tahar Rahim. And it was directed by S.J. Clarkson. And the story goes, it follows Cassandra Webb, who is forced to confront her past while trying to protect these three young women with powerful futures who are being hunted by a deadly adversary. Deadly adversary would be Ezekiel Sims, who you don't really get much info of. You certainly see how he fits into the story, but really no backstory. And as for Cassie Webb, my goodness. Look, I wanted to like all the characters in this movie, but I truly did feel like it was phoned in. And I also think where it really suffered, it was the writing. I mean, some of the lines were just, ooh, and the story was just, it was bland. And it stinks because Madam Web is a pretty awesome character. She has the power to see future, clairvoyancy, and she actually develops like some crazy powers in terms of psychic abilities, and is actually considered a mutant in one universe, but in this one she is a young paramedic who is kind of grating, awkward, maybe. I wouldn't say unlikable per se. I probably did just say that a little bit ago. There's just something about her character that she was awkward, and I almost want to say it was awkward for Dakota to play her. I'm not sure. Again, that's just me looking into that, really. I was a little bummed out watching this one. I think we're getting some subpar superhero movies, which is a shame because I love superhero movies, except the Marvels. Y'all can hate on that, but I loved that film. So bye. This film I struggled with because it just felt very uninspiring. It's bland. Maybe the actors just didn't connect with the material. You have all these other folks, and again, they just they weren't memorable, and the story is really generic. And it's a shame because Madam Web just interacts with so many characters within the Marvel universe and can connect so many. I mean, I remember in the 90s TV series, she would just take Peter Parker, pluck him from one timeline and put him in another. Just imagine how you could have had any of these versions of Spider Women interacting with either Spider-Man or even other villains like Venom or Rhino, Scorpion, all these things. There's so much potential. Ezekiel Sims is going to be our villain. He's just trying to survive the future that he sees, or well, prevent it. He's got some, I guess, superhero strength and some abilities to, crawl. This had the potential to create more, but it just felt very bare bones and, well, basic. It's a shame because I would like a sequel because I'd like to see all these other characters interact, or this to bring together some of the Spider universes. But I don't see this really going anywhere. And it's now a solo film with supposedly no connections to the other films, and that's a damn shame. That's unfortunate. At the end of the day, I just felt this was very phoned in and very disconnected. Like, oh my gosh, you know what? Bottom line, this was a messy film. Maybe they had a completely different film and they had to chop it up and spit something else out. I feel like there are just gaps in this film. Maybe a little bit more storytelling could have helped, but the problem is this is almost a 2-hour film and really not a lot happens. We see how Madam Web somewhat develops into her powers, or we get a glimpse of these young women and who they become. I would have personally enjoyed to see a little bit more of that instead of just running around, New York trying to escape Ezekiel, which at the end of the day, it's still it just wasn't done well. Even the action sequences were pretty tame, in my opinion. All that being said, I mean, I've sat through a lot worse. Case in point, Morbius. Well, at least anybody who tells me Morbius was a better film is that's outrageous. That's offensive. Also, I did see somebody refer to this as the showgirls of the MCU, and I was like, oh my God, that's so awesome. And then I realized they were using it as, you know, not a compliment. If you want to see this film, streaming's probably a good option. I have a feeling it's going to be streaming very soon. And I'm still trying to understand why they chose Valentine's Day. And I get, maybe because they think it's going to bring more of that demographic. I don't I just don't know. I do think that Sony will bounce back. I think that, the Spider-Man films will bounce back, but this was definitely a misfire. My hope is that maybe in the future they take a little bit more care and consideration to the characters and the lore, and maybe also just have a story. I didn't feel like one was there. Hey, if you like this review, thumbs up would be appreciated. Maybe even hit that subscribe button. There will be some more reviews, hopefully interviews in the future, and maybe some just lives just talking about movies. Because if there's one thing I do enjoy, it's movies and TV. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, a lot of reality. But hey, thanks for stopping by.